Hello and welcome to Inside Tennis Football's practice facility. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network, and we're getting closer and closer to one of the most anticipated games of this season. Third Saturday of October, Tennessee versus Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Can the Vols get that win streak going, or will Alabama get theirs back after falling Neyland Stadium last year? Well, to preview the game, we were able to talk with two assistant coaches, defensive backs coach Willie Martinez and running backs coach Jerry Mack, along with three players, all representing Memphis, coincidentally, running back Jabari Small, and then defensive linemen Bryson Eason and Amari Thomas. So let's jump into what they had to say about this upcoming game. We'll start on the defensive side of the ball with Willie Martinez. What were your thoughts on what he said?
Yeah, I think it was interesting to hear him talk about Kamal Haddon, a guy that's, obviously handled some criticism in his career in the secondary, but a guy that's having his best year yet here in his senior campaign. Obviously came up with two critical interceptions, the pick six against South Carolina 2 weeks ago, and then last week he ends that Texas A&M drive at the end with an interception. So, but when you look at those things, he's doing those right, getting some picks. I think he's up to 3 this year, but he's doing little things right too in coverage. And I know earlier we talked about, pro football focus grades. I know coaches don't look that much into those, but you see him doing things right in coverage, getting after guys. And Willie Martinez was asked what's kind of led to this development for him. And he's a guy that's dealt with injuries throughout his career, and this is really the first time he's been healthy and has really, provided a spark to that Tennessee secondary, which struggled last year, was kind of bend but don't break. It's had some, some down moments this year as well, but a guy that's definitely, elevating that group.
Yeah, and I mean, really stepped up this year, and part of that reason is this is the first time he's had a healthy spring to be able to work into this season. So kind of seeing that pay off, seeing kind of the maturity. You mentioned how he graduated and how that's a big deal for him, and kind of how he's taking that next step into being an elite cornerback in college football. On the offensive side, Jerry Mack, he talked about Jalen Wright. Obviously, Jalen Wright coming off of a really good game against Texas A&M as well, just gashing the Aggies defense. The most interesting thing he said about him is kind of how he's a student of the game. Jerry Mack talked about how in his era and back in his day, kind of they all watched college football, they all watched the NFL, and they kind of took those notes while they watched the game. But nowadays you find a lot of these kids don't really watch football that often. Outside of the facility, that's not really something that they're doing outside of their own film work. He said Jalen Wright's not one of those guys. Jalen Wright is watching football, and not just the greats of right now, but he's going back in time and he's watching guys like Walter Payton and guys of the past that dominated their era, taking parts of their game, applying it to his own, and you can tell it's paying off because he's clearly taken that next step this season as he kind of works through his career and becomes that lead back at Tennessee. So I thought that was interesting, just kind of, he's a student of the game by every mean of the word. Let's talk about the players though. On the defensive side, the two linemen, Bryson Eason and Amari Thomas, what were your thoughts from what they had to say?
Yeah, it's, going up against that run game. You talk about the two best position groups for Tennessee right now is that defensive front and that running backs room. And obviously those guys had to battle it out a lot. And I asked Amari Thomas about that. What were some of those battles like in the spring? Jerry Mack said it today as well, that the defensive line made the running back group better. Amari Thomas said today that the running backs made them better, and it's showing. And we kind of expected them to be good this year up front, stopping the run. They were very good at it last year, was the strongest part of this defense, and they've followed through with that despite missing a couple pieces. And it kind of helps when you're going up against guys like Jalen Wright and Dylan Sampson and Jabari Small, who Amari Thomas called the best running backs group in the nation. And they've certainly got an argument in the SEC at least. And so I think it helps when you're playing those guys every week.
Yeah, it's tough to find a running back room that has 3 options that you feel really good about, like Tennessee has. One of those options, you just mentioned him, Jabari Small. He's had a good career here at Tennessee. Last game against Texas A&M, he reached that 2,000-yard mark for his career. He was asked about his thoughts on that. He kind of gave the answer, I don't really think about it. Didn't think about it when I got here. Don't think about it during games, just focused. But he did say that there's a lot more for him, and he's still hungry. He's still focused and still wants to kind of go beyond that 2,000-yard mark. And in a system where they kind of feed the hot hand and whoever's hot is getting those touches and staying on the field. We've seen it be Jalen Wright this year. We've seen it be Dylan Sampson this year. Feels like we haven't had that Jabari Small game yet this season. So kind of sitting around waiting for Jabari Small to have that bust out game where he's that guy that they're riding. We've seen it in the past, last year a few times. Feels like that one's right around the corner for Jabari Small. So we'll have to see if that's something that we get soon. but he's definitely been a valid option for them as that kind of typically second, sometimes third guy off the bench for them, getting his fair share of touches. But we'll be in Alabama coming up on Saturday. So will the Tennessee Volunteers. So we'll talk with Josh Heupel on Thursday to get his final thoughts ahead of that trip. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel to not miss anything, and head over to VolReport.com for all of our written content, as well as the Rocky Top Forum to join in on the discussion. Links to everything you need is in the description, and thank you for watching.